8 months ago, I was asked to jump into this race, and I thought, you know, the president calls me, the White House calls me, says, we really need you to get in this race. And I always tell it the defining moment. The defining moment for me that day was when the president looked at me and said, look, you can stay where you're at, or you can go fight for Ohio, but you can also fight for me. I need another person in the United States Senate. And Sherry Brown, is sitting on about $12 million right now, and he's either going to dump that down on Ohio, or you're going to take him on and he's going to dump it down on you. But there's one guy who can take that $12 million and turn it around and make it work for him. And quite frankly, I walked out of the White House that day thinking, what am I going to do here? And here's what I said to myself. It's easy in life. It's easy in life to do what you want to do. When I was in business, I got up every day. It's so easy to do what you want to do. It's much tougher to do what you have to do. And that's when I made the decision standing out on the sidewalk. I said, I'm going to do this. And what I found is that it's been great. For 8 months, I've traveled all across the state. I've had opportunities to meet people that I met 35 years ago in some cases, but in a different way. And what I learned was they're happy. Look, the President Trump, who, by the way, I came out and supported him when he was just. He's coming in Cleveland on Monday, and the day that he flew in, back in March of 2016, when I met him, there were only 3 people in the back there with him. I'll still never forget that. The guy who owned the IAC Center, another big donor, and me. And that was it. But what I said to myself was, we need to change this country. We need to move in a different direction. We can't continue down the path we were going. And I was glad to see him take that on. And look what's happened. Look, everything from, we have growth now, 4.3%. We have unemployment, the lowest in 49 years. The lowest in 49 years. Rates are up 3.5%, the highest wage rate growth we've had in a long, long time. We got jobs that are just growing all over this country. In fact, here's a statistic that's interesting. During the Obama years, we lost 400,000 manufacturing jobs. During the last 20 months, we picked up 200,000 manufacturing jobs. That's what's going on. What I found is, as I travel around, the forgotten people, which they used to call so many of the forgotten people, whether it was in Southeast, Southwest Ohio, they're the ones that voted for him. You know, whether it was Youngstown or wherever, they all felt they were forgotten. And now they're starting to see a difference. You know, they come up to me and say, thank you for that tax cut and jobs bill that you passed, because I have a little bit of extra money in my pocket. I was just in multiple businesses this week who are all expanding because they now have been able to write off their equipment. They've given more money to their employees because of the tax cut and jobs bill. These are things that we need to continue to move forward on the federal side, and we're going to do that. The president needs some help. You can't do it with just 40 or 51 members of the Senate. And we have a chance now to run it up a little bit, and we need to do it, so I need your help. So here's what I've been talking about as I get around. Look, we can all sit back and just say, well, it's going to be tough. And you heard John talk about it. I mean, it's going to be who gets out, who votes. But it's not going to be all of you, because I promise you, how many people voted here already? Put your hand up. Right. So here's the problem. It's not you anymore. It's your neighbor. It's your relative. It's your friend. It's everybody else you know. Because when we do these things, you've all voted already. I understand that. But now we need you to get somebody else to vote. You need to take them out to the polls on Tuesday. You need to make sure you call them, say, hey, have you voted? We need to make sure that we can continue this way. Now, the one thing I've been doing every day And for about the last 3 months, I just took my red jacket off. But here's the other thing. Remember, for the next 4 days, try and wear something red so you continue to remember that. I got my red hat on, but I had my red... This morning when I opened up my cupboard, I grabbed the red coat because I said, this is the wave that we have to have. This is what we have to do. Now, I've noticed, look, I'm running against Sherrod Brown. Everybody, how many people know who Sherrod Brown is? Have you seen him down here? Sherrod Brown's the fourth most liberal senator in the country. Fourth most liberal. He doesn't represent Ohio values. 96% of the time with Chuck Schumer. 94% of the time with Elizabeth Warren. Nobody in Ohio politics should be the fourth most liberal senator. And yet, he keeps being elected. And he's a magician. He's a magician because every 4.5 years, he comes up and tells people what they want to hear. He talks about bills that he's going to do. He's clearly a magician. But here's the good thing. When I got in this race, he was already, and he did dump that 11.7. By the way, he dumped $11.7 million down on my head. And guess what's happening? It didn't work. All right? Jumped into this race, we were only our internals, we were only 2 points down. Because everybody always talks about polls. And then you saw these other crazy polls, which, by the way, the Republican Party needs to fix this outside polling garbage, especially some of these liberal universities that poll and say Renacci. I couldn't believe it. The poll comes out, says we're 14 points down. My poll comes out, says we're 2 down. I'm going, what is going on here? And then, of course, my pollster said, look at what they're doing. They said there's going to be 19% African Americans show up in Ohio. We haven't had 19% African Americans show up ever. But if you start to look at some of these polls, you just don't know. So then what started to happen, he started to dump this money on me, and the polls did start to open up. I mean, he was at, the first poll we had 46-44, and then it started to open up, and then we had a poll that was 46-40. But guess what just happened? Now the outside polls, there's 2 outside polls just came out, and you're starting to see a trend. He was up to 51%. The last poll, outside poll came out, he was at 49, and just yesterday, he's back to 46. The reason I tell you that is 46% was 17% undecided. So what's happening is he's losing ground and they're going to the undecided. Here's the problem is a lot of people don't know me. You know, when I was in my 16th district, I had a 97% name ID and a 70% approval rating the last poll we did. When I got into statewide, I only had a 6% name ID. So I learned really quickly this is a big state. So here's the thing that I'm going to ask you to do between now and Tuesday. And it's the same thing for a lot of these guys. We've got a lot of good, everyone here is going to need your help. But a lot of them don't have statewide name ID. And that's just like me. So what we have to do, that's why I have a 17-point undecided. But here's the one thing they have decided. When you've been around for 44 years and you can only get 46% of the vote, you got a serious problem. You got a serious problem. That tells you people don't want you to be elected. They just don't know what the alternative is. And what I need you to do, especially in Clermont County, we need to run the numbers up for all of us. We need to make sure that we're getting out there. Like I said, you guys already voted, so I know that. But I need you to find at least 1 or 2 or 3 people who haven't voted and make sure they vote. This race, as John said, all of these races are going to be very tight. Very, very tight. You know, the undecideds normally break with the challenger because they're tired of the incumbent. So I know this thing's going to tighten up in the next couple of days. And the goal here really will be just to get out. This is what these are about. It's not, and again, this is like my 5th one in the last 2 days. I was with Eric Trump yesterday. And every time I ask the question, how many people voted, they'll put their hands up. So you all voted already. We got that. But we got to get you to make sure you're going out. And you're talking about Dwayne Eustace, you're talking about Sprague, you're talking about Yost, you're talking about Faber, you're talking about all of us. And then in the end, I don't know if I missed anybody. Judge DeGeronimo, we got to talk about her.
The Rose.
Oh, the Rose. Everybody knows the Rose. But anyway, you got to remember, they're all going to have a chance to talk too, so they're going to tell you this anyway. But you got to remember you got to talk about it. Because the one thing we're missing is that there's a little bit of that undecided that we all have that just need to know who we are. I promise you this. If you all get out and you help us all win, and you help me go to the United States Senate, there won't be a day that I don't get up and I work to make sure Ohio is first. And that's I really want to thank you for being here. Clermont County does have a part of my heart because of the business that I first started here. You can tell I'm losing my voice. Eric Trump said to me, you're not going to have a voice by the end of the week, and I know you're probably right. But Clermont County always did have, because I'll never forget, that was the first time that I went to my wife and said, we got to sign on this mortgage. I'm going to buy something here. And she goes, what? I'm not signing that mortgage. Oh, no, you have to. But anyway, it's the first time that I really invested and understood what it meant to create a job, employ people, sign the front of the paycheck. Jerry Brown's been around for 44 years, and the only paycheck he's ever signed is the one he got from the government. And that's really the key here. He wouldn't know how to, I just debated him. He was telling me how he knows how to create a job. Are you kidding me? He couldn't create a job if the job was created in front of him. I mean, that's a crime. So anyway, 4 days, 3 days, whatever the count is, please, 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 do me a favor. Everybody here needs your vote, which we hopefully already had. When you put your hands up, I hope you voted for everybody. Then the second thing is, I need you to find 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then just remember to wear red, a little bit of red over the next couple of days, because it'll remind you. And just remember, even if it's a red sticker, even if it's a red, just something small. Because I think in the end, if we all continue to think red, everybody here is going to win. So thank you all for being here.